Last week, Justin Bieber surprise dropped an album, and I think the biggest surprise of all was how it sonically sounded. It sounded completely different than anything he's done in the past, and I think a lot of that is to give credit to the production team. You have people like Mk.Gee, Dijon, Carter Lang, Eddie Benjamin. It was a lot more alternative than most of his stuff in the past, and I really enjoyed it, especially as somebody who's been into all of those producers and artists separately over the years, and so I figured it would be really fun to actually dive in and do a tutorial today in that style. It's not the perfectly polished, super quantized, overly bright pop that we do on this channel a ton. I figured it would be fun to do something a little bit more organic and raw. So we're going to dive in and check all of that out in 1 second. But before we do, you're watching Make Pop Music. My name is Austin. If you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And if you want a chance to win a sample pack, preset pack, MIDI pack, or loop pack from our website, Make Pop Music, all you have to do is leave a comment down below within the first 72 hours of the video being live. We will pick a winner on the following Wednesday on our Instagram, Make Pop Music, so make sure that you follow us over there. There is links for everything in the description, so check it out when this video is done. But let's actually dive in so we can talk, because there is a ton to go over today. The first thing that I want to start with is I want to start with guitar. This album leans super heavily on guitar, and for this video today, I want to do something different. A lot of the time we process with amp sims, we use a lot of Neural DSP. I've been using a lot of the Fine Classics pedal board lately, but today I want to do something different and make it feel super traditional for Mk.Gee and Eddie Benjamin, and I want to use a lot of pedals. So we're going to go over here and grab a guitar, and I'll show you my pedal board. Okay, so here is what my pedal board looks like. So first, you should know that my guitar is actually coming into this Franklin DI-20, and it's actually outputting a DI signal straight to my interface, so I can just capture clean tones, and then it's also sending an output through all of these pedals. So the main ones that we're going to use today are this first little compressor right here. That's the Whitey Tighty from JHS. Then we're going to be using the Colorbox V2. This is going to allow us to push it and kind of get some of that crunchy clipping gain that you hear in a lot of Mk.Gee tones where he's like really driving a Porta Studio. Then for anything that we want even more gain on, we're going to use the Wampler Tumnus just to add some drive. For any chorus tones, we're going to use the Emperor V2, that is by JHS as well. For the flanger, which is a big part of that like really lo-fi Mk.Gee tone, it's just the Boss flanger. Then we're going to be going into the Blue Sky by Strymon, typically on a short spring setting. And then we're probably going to skip Onward Mood and Microcosm today. And if we're adding any finishing touches, it'll be a little bit of reverb and saturation with the Chroma Console over here. But just know, I'll try to tell you what pedals are in each tone that we're doing, but I'm also capturing DI just in case I ever need it. But that's kind of my pedal board layout. So I have my guitar right now. I'm using the Gretsch baritone. I've used it on the channel before in a Mk.Gee video, but there is my pedal board. I went and kind of gave you the full rundown. For this first tone, we're really just using a little bit of compression. We're using the JHS color box for EQ and gain. We're using a flanger, and we're using the Blue Sky. And I want to just write something that kind of feels a little bit soulful, but the chord progressions in this album are not crazy. So maybe we'll start with like what would be a G. We're in A standard, I believe. So it's a G chord position, but in A, so it's like a C. So we'll play around. Cool, so I'll clean that up. One thing that I want to keep in mind is that for this style, it's pretty raw. There's not a lot of quantizing. I'm okay with leaving like dead fret noise in there. I'm okay with having an electric performance. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then I might also go ahead and track a layer that is my chorus instead of my flanger. And I might just do the big stabs, and I might put it on the bridge pickup. Maybe I'll bring the clipping down. Bring that gain. Cool. I'm going to track both of those up. So here's what we have for the main tone. We have the tone where I'm playing the whole riff, and then we have the tone that is just the chords. I'm fine with leaving that background noise in there. It's going to add vibe. I also am layering over a palm mute, so it's just basically going through that same exact chain, but I'm engaging that tumnus, and I'm just driving it a little bit. And I'm getting that DI sound that kind of sounds like a speaker's overblown. One thing is I'm not using any amp sims, and I'm not going to use like my Fender cab over here or anything, because a lot of these like Mk.Gee and Eddie Benjamin tones are straight DI. just run through a bunch of pedals and then normally through some kind of like tape deck or tape machine. I don't have that, so that's why we're using the JHS color box to kind of emulate that preamp. But that's what we're doing right now. So that feels pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and start laying some drums down on this just so we can get kind of a basic progression. So for drums, here's what we have. For the verse, I want to keep them pretty simple. And then for the chorus, I found these other samples that are a bit bigger. So I believe these are all from Splice. Yeah, they're just random ones that I found off Splice. But let me show you the processing on this, because this is really what's like making this sound completely different. So this first kick, here's what it sounds like straight out of Splice. But let's show you how we're getting that big, overblown, punchy kick. So if you go to this, I'm using Sketch Cassette to add quite a bit of saturation, add some compression, and add some punch. And then I'm using the Level by Mixwave to give me a ton of compression. Then on the actual drum bus, I'm just doing some clipping and a little bit of EQ. And that's going to stay on top of everything. Now, one thing that's really important is I've set up this drum parallel that has the Lexicon 224. It's on the drum room and it's 100% wet. And then I have Sketch Cassette after that. So we're kind of getting this roomy sound without that. And you can just kind of send your individual elements to it. So I'm sending it out to the drum parallel there. Same thing with the snare. We're doing quite a bit of processing on this one as well. Here's what it sounds like raw. We add that drum parallel. We add Sketch Cassette. We add Pro Q4 just to add some brightness. We're adding Pawn Shop Compressor to give us some compression. We're adding Mixwave to give us a little bit of slower compression. And then lastly, we're just clipping it. And that's how we can get these punchy, tapey, roomy drums that really sound like that Bieber, Dijon, Mk.Gee kind of style. And then same thing with the main kick that we're going to use in the chorus. Without anything. Sketch Cassette is really coming in clutch here. Here's without Sketch Cassette and Level. With it. With Level. That's doing a lot of heavy lifting. And then just a little gate to get rid of some of that noise. Sending it to the drum parallel. And that's pretty much the drum sound that we're going to be using for this entire tutorial. So lots of Sketch Cassette, lots of extra little like room reverb and stuff like that. And then we can layer that in and it could be super simple. So I'm just going to track that, leave it pretty unquantized, and I'm going to layer a hi-hat over it. So for this hi-hat, I just found this little live hat. I'm adding envelope shaper to take off a little bit of that transient. It's a little like stabby for what I need. And then Sketch Cassette just to darken it up, add some saturation. Puts it where I need it to be in the sonic kind of scape of this mix. And then I found this really cool like jazz brush layer. There's a lot of songs on the album that kind of have these like brushy jazz drums. I figured that could just be a nice little noise texture in the background. And then we mix it with the guitars. Let's move on to keys and then I'll do bass after that. But I have something really, really cool that I want to show you with the keys. So for the keys for this, I wanted to do these as live as possible too. I didn't want to use a lot of virtual instruments. So I am using my Roland DS88. All of the sounds are going to be loaded on this. It's basically just a stage keyboard. But what I'm going to be doing is I have two mics set up in the back of my room. I have one to the left of me and one to the right of me. And what they're doing is they're going to be capturing the noise out of the speakers. So I have my DAW routed to where I'll be able to listen with headphones and I'll be able to get my metronome. I'll be able to hear what's already on the record. But as I play piano, it's going to play that out loud through my speakers. And I'm going to be capturing that audio through these room mics. And then I'm going to be able to blend stereo room mics with what would just be a dry digital piano. So essentially I'll have three sources. I'll have the digital piano, I'll have the room left mic, and I'll have the room right mic. So I'm going to track those so you can actually see what they sound like and see why I want to do this and why I add so much texture. So here's what the piano sounds like coming straight out of my keyboard. It doesn't really have anything on it. It's got a little bit of EQ, and it sounds like this. But here's what it sounds like coming out of my room mics. So again, left mic, right mic. I did knock it off like 10 milliseconds. I kind of want it to be a little bit delayed. I kind of want like a little slapbacky thing, but I'm tracking my vocals through it. I have a piano through it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even play around with things like flipping phase. 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna leave that phase not flipped, but I am gonna flip the phase of this main piano because as I blend that back in, listen to this now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Without the phase. With the phase. So I'm gonna keep that phase flipped 180, but listen to how much more lively that sounds in the actual mix than if I just had one piano. 1, 2, 3, 4. Versus if I just had the digital piano. It just makes it almost feel like you're tracking a real piano. And this is something that I kind of wish I would have done years ago, but I'm going to start leaving up stereo mics in my room just to capture tons of stuff. I'll probably track claps later. I'll probably track tambourines later. I'll definitely do some background vocals, and I'm going to leave the stereo room mics up because that's going to give me a lot of that extra width and dimension and texture. So if you're trying to make something in this kind of bedroom lo-fi style and you can throw up room mics, try it. I actually think it's so sick to just play sounds through your speaker, capture your own natural live environment, and it kind of tucks everything into one sonic space. It feels like you recorded it in a live room at a studio. So I'm doing that. I'm also just blending in this Wurlitzer that is, I don't have any room sound on it. Again, that's tracked from the Juno DS88. So everything is live tracked so far. Then when we get up here, we kind of like extend the progressions. And that's just going to add some counter melody. So now that that feels good, I'm going to track up bass. I got a lot of flack on the metal video a couple weeks ago that I didn't track live bass. I don't have like a 5 or 6 string live bass to track something that low, but I do have a normal bass. So here's my bass. It is just a Fender jazz bass. I'm actually rolling off a little bit of the tone knob just so it kind of gives more of like a P bass vibe. So there's what it sounds like straight up. I don't think I'm going to do much to process this. It's just going through a compression pedal, no modulation, and then I'll probably just add some like tape saturation or something. But I kind of just want to do like a something that kind of mimics this. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm just going to track some of that stuff in. I'm going to leave it pretty simple. Here's what we have for the actual bass tone. So I have some Pro Q, just kind of scooping out some mids and low mids just to kind of ease it up. We have the Ampex Master Tape. This is just going to add some tape saturation and bloom the low end. Gives it that kind of vintage soul feel. And then mix wave level on the bass preset. Adding that saturation and that compression. And then the last thing, I did this trick a couple weeks ago, but I'm using Pro MB to essentially trigger when the kick drum hits, the bass is gonna duck anything below like 130 hertz. And we just have that set up by a side chain. And then on here, you just make sure that this says external, and you can add it to any frequency band that you want. But that feels pretty good right now. I think we should move over to like a bridge. This feels pretty good. I don't want to overcrowd this. And I'm leaving all the noise, I'm leaving all the imperfections, but let's track a little riff for the bridge. So I'm back to having my guitar. I have it going through the flanger, not the chorus again, but I'm gonna be using this little thing. I don't know if she can zoom in, if Miranda can zoom in on the thing so you can see it against my white shirt. It's called the Plunk. It's actually by another YouTuber, Audio Haze. He does really, really incredible videos like breaking down recording techniques and things that artists especially like this will use. But this will essentially act as a mute for your guitar. So it'll give you that kind of dead muted sound. So as I pop it on, there's my guitar without, but I kind of want to go for like a rubber bridge vibe here without getting like an acoustic rubber bridge guitar. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up to where the lowest strings are super dead, and then I'm going to like ease off on the deadening by just slightly pulling it up on the top strings. So now we can track something like this. We can do. Something like that. I want to leave it pretty muted. Add that plunk back on there. That's it. All right, let's track that. So here's what it sounded like with the final tone. To get that like really roomy sound, I added the Lexicon on the Wider 2 preset, and it's like 82% wet. And that's basically just gonna tuck everything into like a real room. And that gives us that super kind of vibey Mk.Gee tone. But I'm also adding this little lead just to kind of tie in the verse. And these little punches. So that feels good. I want to do one more thing where I put an EBow under this. I've never used one on the channel, but let me show you what I'm talking about. This little thing is an EBow. Essentially what it does is it will resonate a string, so you can almost play a guitar like a pad. So you can just hold a note. So I'm essentially going to play a little melody over it. And right now I am running through the Wampler Tumnus distortion. So here's my tone. But this makes it pretty hot. So I'm going to drive back the gain a little bit. Yeah, let's try that. Cool. I'm going to clean that up, but that's basically the thing. I'm basically just using this EBow to give me those like distorted guitar pad sounds. All right, so here's what it sounded like straight out. I'm adding just some widener. I'm adding a black hole to give me some space. I'm adding another little phaser to make it super wobbly, and then just some EQ to tame it. And inside the mix, move this back one. There we go. That feels pretty good. I want to track like an E-piano, so I'm going to track like a little 90s Rhodes kind of thing using that same technique where I track my dry and then a room sound. So here's what we have. It's a basically an 80s FM piano. And then I also tracked some piano on that. Same technique. When I layer that with the guitars, it's really nice. Let's go ahead and track some claps. I'm just going to track them through the room mics and just, you know, let them kind of be there. This is always such an easy way to add life to your mix. If you just track your own claps, this is just me recording claps like maybe 5-6 times. That feels pretty good. Let's go into a chorus now. I want the drums to get bigger, so we're going to kind of go to our... And I'm going to go to a hi-hat that feels a little bit more open. So I showed you the processing earlier. It's basically just samples with a bunch of like sketch cassette and extra compression. But then other than that, the new stuff that we have is this loose hats loop. This is out of the hi-hats pack off of our website, Make Pop Music. Sounds like this. It was live tracked with a real hat, so it's still adding some dynamic. And then I have a tambourine that is right over here that I just tracked in the room. And then I found some cool little percussion layers to just kind of give me little fills. There's a couple songs on here that have like 909, 808, and 707 style, just like random drum loops. And then there's some stuff on here that has like Linn drum fills. So I decided to incorporate that a little bit. Then when you mix it with all the drums, sounds huge. So drums feel pretty good for now. For guitar, I do want to change it up just a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to go to what we had in the verse. But then, so we'll do that twice. Back to C. But then we're going to go. And we'll add in some little licks and fills, but... So we're essentially just doing little rundowns. So here's our main hook. I tracked it once on the left with phaser, or with flanger, and then once on the right with chorus. I'm also doing some palm mutes that are just me kind of going through that crunchy signal again. All right, so here's this like little lead that I tracked up. But then I decided that I wanted more reverb, so I added that little Lexicon wider preset that we had on the pre-chorus guitar. But I also added this fuzz stomp. And then I added transit too as well. This is just a preset that I've given away before called Mk.Gee Vibes. I believe we have a reel on our Instagram going over this whole chain. There it is if you want to copy it. But other than that, once we tuck that into the mix, let's track up some keys to layer and some bass, all live tracked. Here's what we have for the bass. Same thing as earlier, same chain. Just tightening it up a little bit. And then for the keys, we have a few layers. We have that Wurlitzer from earlier, just playing a different pattern. It's clipping a little bit, so I'm going to ease up on this clipper right here. There we go. That's feeling better. And then we have a piano again. Listen without the room sound though. This one, it's really apparent. With the rooms, same thing with this little DS88 FM synth right here. And one thing that I like is it's not just getting like a room reverb, it's getting the actual action of me playing keys, which can simulate, you know, miking a real Rhodes or miking a real piano. It's getting my movements, it's getting any breaths, it's getting any, you know, like ambient noise. It adds quite a bit of texture. And then once you mix that with everything, you pretty much have the instrumental, I believe. Let's go ahead and let's add in some vocals so I can show you, because I want to do a couple vocal things that I don't normally do on this as well. So here is my lead vocal. I'm not like hand tuning anything. I do have some auto tune on. Bieber still has quite a polished voice. So I'm going 23 on the retune speed. Here's all the settings on auto tune if you want to copy it. But other than that, like here's my raw vocal. I've been working on my patience. This is just straight out of my mic chain. I've been working on my pride. Yeah. So the mic chain that I'm using is a Sony C800G going into a Rupert Neve Designs Newton with a little bit of EQ engaged, but no silk and no compression. And then that's going into an AudioScape 1176 Rev D, an AudioScape Opto comp, both doing between 2 and 5 dB of gain reduction, and then straight into my interface, which is an RME. And then after that, we're doing some sculpting just to kind of cut down on some of those high mids. It's a pretty mellow track, so I don't need a lot of bite. I actually could add a little bit back though. I've been working on my patience. And then just a little bit of extra compression. I've been working on my patience. Add some de-esser just to get rid of some of that, you know, sizzle. And I'm only doing a little bit, right around 4K. I've been working on my patience. Ease that up a little bit too. This Pro Q is literally just gain. I ended up not really using it. And then a little bit of Pro MB just to kind of fit it. I've been working on my patience. I've been working on my pride. Yeah. Now let's go into some of the wet effects. So for this one, we're using an echo chorus, and this is kind of giving us a lot of that like vintage, springy, slapbacky tone that you like in a like a Mk.Gee, Dijon, Bieber style song. We're using the Stellar Echo from Slate. It's on the basic Stellar. This is the settings that I have in here. I've been working on my patience. I've been working on my pride. Yeah. And then we're also doing a room reverb that is the 7th Heaven on the Studio B close setting. And then we have a vocal plate that is the 7th Heaven as well. This is the Pro one. It's on the vocal plate B at like a 1.9 second decay. We have a little bit of EQ, and we have some ducking and some reflection stuff happening. Then we're just doing a little bit of EQ. I'm going to add a little bit back in, actually. And is there anything else? Oh, yeah, we have our parallel widening. This is a Roland Dimension D. Use it all the time. I've been working on my patience. Super huge in the 80s. Really, really great unit. But once we add all of that, we get this for the vocal. I've been working on my patience. I've been working on my pride. Yeah. I've been working on searching for all the words that never seem to come out right. All right, let's talk about that little roomy harmony right here. So this, I use the stereo mics that are set up behind me, and I actually sang facing forward. And so with nothing on it, it sounds like this. Seem to come out right. And then I added the Perfect Room by Denise Audio. Length is at 1.4 seconds. I'm 100% wet, and it's got a little bit of this like extra release happening. It almost reminds me of like what's the slow song by Niall Horan? What is it? Slow down, but it dun, dun, dun. I don't know, but maybe Slow Burn. It sounds like that to me. And so a big part of like, especially Dijon's sound is like, there's just people talking in the background. So I added some of that.
I've been working on my patience.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been working on my pride. Yeah. I've been working on, seem to come out right. I swear I'm running in place.
Then I'm pulling in a harmony for this pre-chorus.
I swear I'm running in place. I'm falling back in the race. I make some progress before I crash.
Not tuning nothing on that, leaving it super raw.
Promise when I say I'll always get myself right back on track.
Let's talk about this hook now. We have our main vocal.
I drive in circles for you.
Then we have this doubler vocal. I actually sang this a separate time. It's the same exact chain, but with Roland Dimension D on 100% wet.
I drive in circles for you.
And I'm letting them both kind of rock heavy.
I drive in circles for you.
Then for the harmonies, instead of just doing normal dubs, I sang the dubs facing this way with room mics.
I drive in circles for you.
And did not tune them at all. And actually sang them sloppy.
1,000 laps just to prove. I'd swim until my lungs gave. I'd hold you till my heart breaks. I'd jump the hurdles for you.
Then I added some harmonies. These are tracks kind of on the mic.
I drive in circles for you. 1,000 laps just to prove. I swim in.
So I'm leaving all the mouth pops, I'm leaving everything. And then for the chorus ad-libs, we're kind of doing something that we did on the harmonies in the verse. But this is a slightly different setting. We're at 755 milliseconds and we're at like 40% wet. If you want to copy my setting from here, there you go. But I am just singing these like ad-libs, again, facing the opposite way of a mic.
I drive in circles for hours. 1,000 laps just to prove. Till my heart breaks. I jump any hurdle for you.
And just kind of like letting myself do whatever I want.
For you. I jump any hurdle for you. I drive in circles for you.
And other than that, that's really most of it. We have some extra like bus processing happening on some of the stuff where we have like a tape. So like for instance, the guitars without this tape machine sound like this. With it. The tape machine is really good for making sure that nothing gets too much top end on it to like make it too modern sounding. And it also just kind of like beefs everything up. And then on the master bus, we have some tape as well. So let me kind of get rid of everything else so you can really just hear the tape. Here's what it sounds like without tape. With tape. Kind of tucks everything into the same pocket. And then we're doing my typical kind of 2-bus chain. A little bit of compression, like 1 or 2 dB with the FBC FG red. Ease up on that a little bit. And then gold clipping just to catch any of the peaks. And then mix head just to add a little bit of extra saturation, add some brightness. Saturn 2, I'm actually barely using this on this. I've like started steering away from Saturn 2 a little bit. And then we're just using this to kind of tone shape, take away some of the subs so we can feed it a little bit harder into our limiter. And then our final limiter right here. And after you do all of that, this is what you're left with.
I've been working on my patience. I've been working on my pride. Yeah. I've been working on searching for all the words that never seem to come out right. I swear I'm running in place. I'm falling back in the race. I make some progress right before I crash. But if you give me some grace, and I promise when I say I'll always get myself right back on track. I I drive in circles for you. 1,000 laps just to prove. I swim until my lungs gave. I hold you till my heart breaks. I jump the hurdles for you. I drive in circles for you.
Hopefully you liked this one. If you did, please let us know by leaving a comment down below. Make sure that you like the video. That helps us out in the algorithm a ton. And if you want to see videos like this every single Friday, make sure that you subscribe. If you want to check out any of our sound packs, we have sample packs, preset packs, MIDI packs, loop packs. We have start to finish production courses that go into way more depth and detail than this. You can find all of that on our website, makepopmusic.com. That's where you can also check out all of our freebies. Make sure that you go support us. Every link is in the description, but we will see you guys next Friday with more videos. Much love. Peace.